Hey beautiful singers, how are you feeling today? I hope you're feeling and doing great. My name is Natalia and I am a holistic vocal coach, which means I help you guys to not only transform your voice, but also your life. And I'm also a professional classical crossover singer. And this one came to me from you guys, is how to sing high notes. I was actually posting on my story. If you're not following on me on my social media, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, they're gonna ban that soon, but I'm still there. So if you're not following me there, go ahead and do so, because I upload every single day an inspiration, an exercise, a tip, behind the scenes, and so much more. So go ahead and follow me on those. But I kind of checked, and I recently didn't even do a video about high notes, and I definitely want to shine new light for you guys and help you to sing high notes easy. It's not going to be an issue. So before we're going to dive in and get those high notes going, did you subscribe? Are you part of the family already? Just making sure, because if not, this is the time to be part of our growing, amazing, positive, encouraging family. Because again, I get tips and exercises and reactions and so much more. So you definitely don't want to miss it out. And if you're singers, this is time to be part of my free vocal challenge, where we also address high notes and expanding your range. So go ahead and check out my free vocal challenge by clicking the first link in the description bar below. So let's talk about high notes. First of all, okay, it's very interesting. My relationship with high notes kind of evolved with the years. When I was a little girl, high notes was just there. It was just so easy for me. And I don't know why, along the way, it just wasn't there naturally. And I remember my voice teacher told me, which is not true, but that's, sometimes when you go to a vocal teacher, you think they're gods, and you think whatever they say, it's 100% correct. And she said to me, you don't have high notes, dear. It's okay. You're gonna be a mezzo soprano. And obviously that is completely false. And even if you're a mezzo soprano, which means a lower type of voice for females, you still need to have those high notes, because again, it's not about low, middle, high notes. It's about knowing how to sing, okay? And one thing that I always tell my students, and if you're following this channel for 3 years, you know that I'm all about holistic approach, which means we're not just approaching to music and singing and just, doing a bunch of exercises and just sing the song perfectly and just looking from the technical perspective, but we want to include everything around it, okay? So mind, how we feel, how, physically, emotionally, mentally, all those things combined together to make sure you're getting yourself to that peak state where you feel free, where you know what you're doing, so connected to yourself, and everything you do just comes out of you so naturally. So if we think like this, from that perspective, I want you to write down in the comment section below, what is your relationship currently with your high notes? When you hear high notes, what is the first thing that comes up to your mind? Okay? When I started, it was, oh my God, here's a high C, I'm gonna die. Like holding myself for dear life, preparing, over breathing, over pressuring, over supporting, just to make sure I'm gonna hit the high note, right? So now my relationship to the high note is actually, I'm excited to sing those high notes. I'm excited because it really is very, very exciting, but it took time, and that's okay. It's a relationship that you want to evolve and get better, more comfortable with, but it's a relationship. And sometimes we don't even think in this way, and we're not kind of stop to think, okay, wait, what's my relationship with those high notes? Am I scared of them? I am embracing them. I'm excited for them. What is it? Okay. So after you're clear about how you feel about high notes, you really have to ask the question of why you have the issue you have with high notes. Now, if you have a good vocal teacher he or she will help you to really guide you step by step, to really bring you to the place and really isolating the problem and helping you to give you the tools to overcome it, and really listen to why there is a problem with your high notes, because usually it's not just the high notes. Because as I said, the way you're gonna sing the low notes is probably how you're gonna sing the high notes. They're kind of mirroring each other, and it's very, very true, and I found it to myself as well. I was over projecting, I was over breathing, I was over using my breath, and there's a lot of breath coming out of my sound. And I did it on my low notes because I was over delivering, and I did the same thing with the high notes where I over delivered, and that's what didn't help my vocal cords to stretch in a certain way. We actually need less air and let the frequencies do the work for me. And it's a very delicate, it's a very tedious, and a lot of patience involved, but that's honestly the only way to do that. And when you gain that trust and you gain that flexibility, you can create more power and more support to that sound. But honestly, there's no way to just bang it right away. You have to do the work for it. And trust me, whenever you're there, there's no turning back. You're never gonna go back to the previous singer you were. But after you know why, meaning, is it because you're disconnecting from your body when you go to the high note? What I mean by that, I see a lot of singers doing this. For instance, there's a high note. I'm disconnecting the notes instead of I'm combining them and really make them even. I'm not reaching to the high note and disconnecting from my breath support in my body to hit the note. I'm just making it part of the rest, okay? Or you're tensing your jaw, or you're tensing your shoulders or your stomach, you're overholding something, or you're using too much breath, right? You're exhaling a lot of air, and that also doesn't allow the frequency and those vocal folds to really align with each other to make that frequency and that high sound. And that was, I had all of those, actually 3 in different ways, because it's not just high notes, it's how they appear in the song. Some of them is just and you just stay there for a long time in that high note, or it's just like a quick shift to the high note and coming back to the melody. It's really depends on what context it appears. But whatever that is, I'm gonna teach you tips and tricks and exercises how to think it in a different way, and what is the strategy you can use for that particular vocal passage, okay? So the first exercise we can do to make sure we actually having a consistent and even flow of the air is using lip trills. Yes, they're so good for so many different things. But if you're just starting with singing and you wanna kind of approach the high notes and see how actually they're not far away so much from the lower range or middle range, and really understand they're just part of the sequence, and you don't need to do so much to sing them, that's gonna be the best way. So you kind of training your muscles and your mind to think that way. So a simple trill with a nice chord. And trying to make them consistent and even. And don't do this. Don't overemphasize it, just make it part of the sequence. And the way to do it is actually combining and kind of sliding from note to note and not detach them as much. It's going to be easier for you to reach those high notes, because it's really when you understand that there's no such thing high notes, forget about high, just take it off your vocabulary, because you're not a piano, you're not a regular instrument where you need to press a certain key to reach it. It's just your vocal folds doing the same motion. Just stretch a little bit more, but you don't need to do anything for it. And the more you stay consistent and stable and where you are right now with your breath support and making sure the voice is moving forward, it's not, you know, when you go up the hill, if you're gonna drag and walk slowly, there's no momentum. You gotta keep the momentum, but at the same time, you wanna make sure your breath support is solid. But also remember mentally that you wanna keep that consistency. You don't wanna think, oh, now is the high note. Just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going with the sound. Make the breath support strong, and also keep that consistency of the airflow forward, and you should be good. Honestly, that's really what it is. After this exercise, the second one, as I said, is the sliding. The sliding and combining the two notes where, you know, when you have not just as what we did right now, it's more like a range type of thing. But if you now taking two notes, separate notes, and higher leap, and a bigger leap, let's say a fifth from each other, right? We want to kind of remind ourselves, again, it's a leap, but we don't want to think like it's a leap, right? We want to think like it's the same note. They're just right here. They're not here, they're right next to each other. So we're gonna slide it, and the way we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it with E. And E, again, it's the closest vowel to sing, and it's a very vulnerable sound at first. And maybe your E is gonna sound cracky, it's gonna sound but be nice to yourself, be gentle enough, because the E sound is really help the vocal folds to really align and kind of get attached and really create this beautiful frequency that we need later on, okay? So I like to do Z, Z, and then slide to that note. So, Z, Z. It sounds like a siren, and that's how you want to think about it, like a big siren. And let's go another one. Z. And you want to take the time and really explore all the notes between those two notes and combine them together. It's really important. If you notice what I did, I kind of thought of my vocal folds with my two hands, and instead of going higher with the sound, which a lot of people do, kind of trick yourself and go down with your hands. That also helps to ground the sound and kind of trigger yourself that, wait, we're not going higher, we're just going down. And that's actually really, really helpful for beginner singers and also pros. Sometimes we forget and we need to go back to the basics. So sometimes when I'm kind of getting in my own head and getting to my own way, it's really important to just ground yourself and remind yourself that high note, it doesn't exist. It's just part of the sequence. It's just another note. No problem. It's just make it more exciting, and it's just gonna be there. So this exercise, you just gonna play up and down until you feel, obviously don't go so high where it feels that it hurts, obviously not, but keep in that range. That will be very, very, very helpful. Trust me, after that, it's like massage for your vocal folds, and you'll see anything you'll sing after that is just gonna be easy, easy peasy. Now, after that, after you kind of combine those two notes and you slide your way from one note to the other, instead of, because a lot of times when we're singing, the problem with these leaps is because they need to be separated. You can't do them in a song where you're combining them. But what you can do as a preparation, that was the exercise, but then you can break them. But in your head, in your mental state, you kind of combining them in your head. So in reality, you're separating, but in your head, you kind of combining them still. Meaning, let's go to our bass. Z, Z, right? Now this time, I'm gonna separate them, but in my head, I'm gonna continue doing the same thing. Z, E, Z, E. And I'm thinking, I'm kind of filling the blanks in my head. I'm not doing Z, E. You feel how they're so detached? But if I am in my head, I'm combining them, I'm still continuing them, I'm still sliding. I'm telling you, this was a game changer for me and so are my students. So I hope it helped. I give you so much information and a little bit of tricks and ways to think about it. But again, there could be so many different reasons why you don't like to sing high notes and why that's just like not there for you. It could be because you're scared of them, because it's some kind of limited belief you have about it. And that's something that I work with my students all the time, because it's sometimes not just a vocal problem, it's something a little more deeper than that. It also affects other areas in their lives. That's why I'm telling you, when my students come to me for their vocal journey, that's what I like to call it, because it's a journey, they come with so much confidence and they know who they are and they see things different. They apply whatever we learn in the studio to whatever aspect in their life to be like the best versions of themselves. But honestly, it could be not just that. It could be because you're strategizing that not the way that will be helpful for you, or you really kind of detaching yourself, or you using extra force, using too much airflow and breath support. And it's really different. Every high note is different because it's a different context. But usually this is kind of like the common thread. This is what comes up for a lot of my singers and the people that I hear. And I hope I helped. If that was helpful, let me know, and let me know what's your favorite tip. And if you have your favorite tip or something that helps you to sing those high notes much easier, go ahead and comment them below in the comment section below. And if you want to get more exercises like this and so much more, go ahead and click the first link in the description bar below. It's going to direct you to my website, and I'm going to send you a free MP3 with vocal exercises and also an ebook that comes with it that's going to help you to actually be more focused and mindful when you're practicing your voice, and so much more, guys. So go ahead and check that out. And yes, guys, with that, I'm going to leave you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in our next video. Bye.